Welcome back to the Snap. Michael Heaver here, alongside, of course, my co-host Patrick O'Flynn. Patrick, we've seen basically all of the election results come through now, and Labour, as we thought they might be when we discussed this pre-election, the Labour Party in complete disarray.
Yeah, and I think what's happened in the last 48 hours since the polls closed is that what we were predicting a terrible night for Labour has become a personal leadership crisis for Keir Starmer because of his total ineptitude at how he's handled it. His television clip after the results, when he said Labour needed to change and he delivered change, and then he was asked for an example of change, he couldn't give a single specific example. Now, that's unforgivable for a party leader, not to be able to cite one animating cause that might connect with people, nothing. And then he's obviously fitted up Angela Rayner in time for the Sunday newspaper deadlines last night, which has gone down like a bag of cement. And the other thing that's really emerged that's intriguing me is that Andy Burnham is a killer. He's won by a total landslide, well over 70% of the vote. And he's positioning himself as Labour's King of the North. He actually sent out a social media message saying that it was wrong what Keir Starmer had done to Angela Rayner, and he's saying that London dominance is Labour's problem. Well, what can Keir Starmer do about that? The London lawyer sitting for a London seat, so Burnham is not even coded manoeuvres. He actually said at one point, if Labour needs me, they should get in touch. They know where I am. So he's setting himself up there. And I increasingly, hands up, I think you got it right when you said before polling day, you thought it'd be a leadership crisis for Keir Starmer. It's very much turning into that.
I mean, you look at the sort of John Lewis cheap Photoshop opportunity. You look at the way they've handled the fallout of this election with Angela Rayner. Oh, by the way, the rumour seems to be that she could be replaced by Wes Streeting, who is, that's right, another Labour MP in London. And I've got to say, Patrick, an article that really stood out to me was from Khalid Mahmood. And don't forget, this is from a Labour MP who has said after the election, my view is simple. In the past decade, Labour has lost touch with ordinary British people. A London-based bourgeoisie with the support of brigades of woke social media warriors has effectively captured the party. That's a Labour MP.
I wonder if he'd been watching the Snap in the run-up to polling day, because he very much shares our analysis, doesn't he? Yeah. And I think this is also a clue that Keir Starmer doesn't really seem to be very well liked within Labour elected circles. I can't really see that Andy Burnham would have reacted quite as strongly as he has done without that relationship being, in some disarray, and clearly the one with Angela Rayner in disarray. Lots of briefings from, unattributable, but from Blair circle people who seem to be deeply unimpressed with him too. And that kind of mirrors an overall problem that we've talked about, which is the electorate, particularly the key parts of it that Labour has lost. The more they see of Starmer, the less they like him. They don't like the guy. They don't like what he stands for. They don't think he understands their lives. And he's of course only been an MP for 6 years, since 2015. And that rookie lack of tradecraft, lack of basic schooling in the arts of politics has really come out disastrously in the last 48 hours.
Now, obviously, Patrick, one of the big results that we saw last night was in London, where really, and again, it's something that I'd previously talked about. If you looked between March and May, what you could see was that Sadiq Khan's poll lead went from about 25 points to about 12 points by May. So pretty much halved during the course of the campaign. And as recently as March, he was on 53% of Sadiq Khan, on course to win the London mayoral election in the first round. In the end, it was far, far closer than that. And in the end, you saw Khan in the second round of voting get 55.2% versus Conservative Sean Bailey on 44.8%. And the comparison I'm making, Patrick, is when you look at Tees Valley and you see the incumbent mayor there, who's a Conservative, Ben Houchen, get 73% versus effectively 55% for Khan in London. It seems to me that Tees Valley is a lot safer for the Tories now than London is for Labour.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, the Labour equivalent to Ben Houchin would be Andy Burnham, who got well over 70% of the vote across Greater Manchester, pulling off that knack of being the landslide choice of the young trendy graduates in the centre, but also normal lower middle class, working class people out in the suburbs. Now, absolutely, Sadiq Khan hasn't pulled off anything like that trick. And if you know, it's all right saying he got 55% on the second round, but if you look at the first round, what was he on? 41% against 36%. But from where he was in March, a very, very bad result for Sadiq Khan.
And I will just mention YouTuber Nico Omelana, who was running a campaign. I mean, I think this is incredibly impressive. He actually came fifth in the end, and he got 50,000 votes. He got 50,000 people went out and voted for him first preference. And I personally think, Patrick, in the years to come, this is something you're going to be seeing more and more of. You're getting some younger guys now who, via social media and platforms like here on YouTube, are building up followings of millions and millions of people. And to me, it was interesting to see whether that support would actually translate to anybody going out and actually voting. And to have 50,000 people in London go and vote for him in first preferences shows you, I think, potentially that people that are building mass audiences via social media, mass audiences via YouTube and other platforms, that could potentially be an interesting development in future years.
Yeah, I certainly think it's the new protest vote. With people with social media followings, perhaps they've never stood for elected office before. You know, no one's particularly got a grudge against them, but they have big niches of people who quite like them and will go out and vote. And compared, for instance, to anti-lockdown candidates, which was, you know, obviously the big chat on right-wing Twitter was that there was going to be a huge upsurge in an anti-lockdown vote. Well, didn't really show on the day at all, did it? So I think that's right, that the new protest vote is going to be pop-up candidates with big social media followings, an element of joke about it, but also some serious points to make about alienation from the system, particularly among younger voters.
Now, I think one of the surprises for me was we saw the abolish the Welsh Assembly Party in Wales. Now, they were polling for a few times. I think I saw about 7% on the list there, which would have secured them seats, I think. And in the end, we didn't see abolish or reform secure any seats. We instead saw a strong performance by Labour in Wales. Mark Drakeford, of course, the Welsh First Minister. We saw the SNP fall short of an outright majority, but Nicola Sturgeon, obviously the First Minister of Scotland, and we've now seen Prime Minister Boris Johnson inviting them both to a summit. What do you make of what we've seen in Scotland and Wales, and how do you think this moves forward, Patrick?
Well, I think in Wales, you know, Mark Drakeford, whatever you think about him, he's not a metropolitan woke city slicker. He's a bit scruff around the edges, but you know, he's benefited from an incumbent bounce in terms of being seen to have put a massive shift in on COVID. And again, to be fair, you know, the Welsh Labour government is known for underperforming on lots of fronts, but actually on vaccines, I think Wales has done best of all the home nations in terms of percentages vaccinated. So, and I think the Welsh Labour Party is less infested with this woke identity politics stuff as well. So he's performed well, hasn't he? You know, particularly given how long Labour have been in. But he kind of, you know, he gets up the noses of right-wing ideologues, clearly, but he does kind of pass the normal bloke test. If you look in Scotland, obviously, again, the SNP has done well, given it's been in power for so long. But if you look at the actual stack up of the votes, there were more votes for unionist parties than there were for separatist parties. So if we take that as a proxy referendum, then the unionists have won again. Sturgeon has fallen short. She's overreaching. You know, not to say she hasn't got some momentum behind her, but I don't see it going anywhere.
And finally, Patrick, I just want to put something to you, which is, I put out a tweet last night, which is that overall, when you look in the round at this set of elections, if you look at the Conservatives' phenomenal performance, what I think you're now looking at is a new electoral coalition that has come out of and continued after Brexit. And it essentially is the Conservative Party absorbing, the vast majority of the former UKIP vote. On top of that, you've got Labour, Leave voters, Labour, Brexiteers in traditional Labour areas like Hartlepool, now voting Conservative. If Boris Johnson, the Conservative Party, can keep together, the traditional Conservative vote, they can add in and absorb the UKIP vote, and they can add in a good proportion of Labour, Leave, Labour, Brexiteers. That, for me, amounts to an unbeatable electoral coalition if it can be kept together.
That's completely right. And the challenge to the Labour Party between now and the general election is to break up that Conservative coalition. And I suggest to you, there is no politician less well placed to do that than Keir Starmer, the London ultra Remainer, who tried to void the Brexit votes of those working class traditional Labour supporters. London wooden lawyer who thinks procedural stuff in the House of Commons is more important, who thinks a big infringement of social justice is some public school educated senior Home Office civil servant being upset that Priti Patel stared aggressively at him and all that nonsense, and wants this kind of London Uber class to take decisions on people's lives. Keir Starmer can't do it. Now, the danger is that it's become so obvious he can't do it that Labour will get somebody else in. I'm increasingly coming around to the view that Starmer only now has at best a 50-50 chance of getting to the general election campaign still as Labour leader. If Andy Burnham wants it, I think it's his for the taking. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next YouGov monthly tracker on the leaders' ratings, because Starmer's been going south since November. And I think it's going to be a total bloodbath. And he's got himself almost into that Ian Duncan Smith situation and cycle where it's the downward spiral. There's nothing you can do to get out of it. Even people who presumed he was quite good can now see that he isn't. He can't connect. He's got no ring craft, and perhaps he's got a glass jaw as well. If we look at how he performed in that appalling clip, after the results, and again, he takes full responsibility by sacking Angela Rayner. That doesn't look good either. So that's where we are. I think overwhelmingly likely now Keir Starmer is in a terrible downward spiral, and Labour may actually have to pull the plug on him.
Well, look, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe and the bell. Me and Patrick will be back very soon. And do let us know in the comments below who you voted for. And do these election results surprise you or not? Again, thanks for watching. And Patrick will be back soon.
Yeah, interesting times.